it's certainly not ancient Chinese wisdom that brings it to the stage. And as you mentioned in your article, we believed in the fool's dream. Richard Nixon did, president, or post at the time, 1972. And I'd like you to break that dream down and why it's gone wrong, and why when they march around with their new 90 aircraft that can deliver 10 nuclear warheads within 30 minutes in any U.S. city or military base, why we have the weaponization of the South Islands, the Coral Islands, with Chinese nuclear weapons, intermediate range nuclear weapons and short range, why the Chinese want to take over not only all of manufacturing of all consumable goods for every country on earth and AI and create the beast computer, which in Silicon Valley they want to call their cyber god, why Xi wants to become emperor for life and literally the god of earth through the proxy of their giant business and their military expansion, and why they were persecuting the heck out of the Hong Kong Chinese, who were basically China Americans. That's why they parade the American sign in China, in Hong Kong. And the delusional Chinese, who have had a one-child, now a two-child policy, if a woman gets pregnant for the third child, they'll abort her right up to the moment of birth, even if she bleeds to death. You wouldn't believe the disgusting behavior. If you just behave in China, you not only get social ratings of 13.5 million, can't even get health care, get on a plane or train or a drug to save their life. But if you disobey, even evangelizing with one page of the Bible, you get trip to a Laodai prison camp, one of 20,000 in China, including not only the Uyghurs, of millions of them in Western China, and the people in the Himalayas. I mean, I think they've destroyed most of the population there in the Himalayas. They had their own separate religious system and so on. But the communist Chinese are so nuts. They're now at least 36.5 million, they say. And a few months ago, they actually published that they have 1.8 million breed-ready females. They actually did their digital analysis of their data, and their cyber state is so bad. In fact, I'm looking at an article in Drudge here. It says, Beijing launches new rule. Residents must pass facial recognition test to even surf the internet. Duh. This is a nation that Trump wants to congratulate. Trump, get a life, okay? Stop negotiation. Start taking action. Don't be a knucklehead. You're not building a hotel. You're building a world. So let's go through the analysis of your amazing article, Lowell Ponte.
Oh, sure. We'll do that, but there's lots of other things in the news, too, I just want to touch on.
Yes.
We'll send out good recovery health to Bernie Sanders, who a few hours ago came down with a severe heart attack, or not a heart attack, but chest pain, was taken into the hospital, had 2 stents inserted, and apparently is recovering, but for now he is off the campaign trail altogether. Even before that, Elizabeth Warren had pulled ahead of Joe Biden by 4 points in one national poll and appears to be on her way to ruling the world, which will be interesting because, of course, Elizabeth Warren is perhaps the most feared, even more feared than Bernie Sanders, is the idea that Elizabeth Warren could take over the national economy, and by so doing...
Well, her real name is actually not Warren, it's Liar-Watha. You like that?
I like that.
Liar-Watha.
Oh, her latest...
Not Hiawatha, Liar-Watha.
I heard, yeah.
Yeah.
What is intriguing, it's worth noting that a week or so ago, Elizabeth Warren condemned all lobbyists as evil, and then 24 hours later hired a lobbyist for her campaign. Well, we now find out that she has just announced her excessive lobbying tax. That is, she's not going to let anyone else lobby. And the penalty she is imposing, if a lobbying firm spends between $500,000 and $1 million, or any company does, it will be taxed at a rate of 35% on what it spends on lobbying. For every dollar above $1 million spent lobbying, the rate will increase to 60%. For every dollar spent above $5 million, the tax on those companies will increase to 75%. So basically, she's intending to silence lobbying in the country. It's interesting because lobbying really is just free speech. It is companies or individuals seeking redress of grievances under the First Amendment. and yet she is going to punish it as severely as she can. I wonder if she were more naked. I mean, well, she is pretty naked in this measure she's proposed anyway. That is, you will get these penalties if you hire a lobbyist if you are a commercial company. But if you're a nonprofit, if you're a labor union, if you're other groups on the left that she basically approves of, then you don't have to pay this tax. It's only if you are a company that makes money. And why does she hate this? Because before she became a senator, she was a hyper-bureaucrat. She actually created all the plans for what under Obama became the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, one of the most frightening things ever developed in the federal government. Why? Because the theory was Congress is elected by the people, and Congress controls who gets the money for every federal bureaucracy, for every government office. And thereby they can always rein in the excesses and extremism in those government offices by cutting the amount of money they're getting. But Elizabeth Warren arranged for the creation of the CFPB, which she briefly headed, by the way, to be a bureaucracy not funded by the Congress, and therefore not subject to the Congresses or the elected people's purse strings. The CFPB was funded entirely by the Federal Reserve Board, which meant it could thumb its nose at the elected representatives of the people or public will in democratic elections. It was going to get a great deal of money no matter what. And as a result, we had a government bureaucracy capable of enacting law. You understand that more than 11 laws out of the U.S. are created by the bureaucracy for every one that's actually passed by Congress. And the bureaucracies themselves enforce their laws. They're called rules, but they are laws. So the point is, she was trying to create a government beyond the touch of a democratic election, beyond the touch of the people, that could do whatever it wanted, that could crush private property, crush business, and so on. And she just loved that, and now she's trying to create it again in the form of this tax on lobbying that she wants. We're going to talk a little bit about that at good range. Also in the news, let's see, New York City.
Wow.
New York City and its Commission on Human Rights has declared that you can be charged a fine of up to $250,000 if you use the word, if you simply articulate the words illegal alien in a way that might frighten or disturb someone hearing you. Now, there are a couple of thoughts on this. This is also a free speech issue, of course, and I thought the ultimate human rights this commission should be protecting were the rights of free speech. But no, they would rather protect the rights of illegal aliens than of you to have free speech. They want to be able to control what language you are able to use, just as in George Orwell's novel 1984, and this is part of it. Now, what's interesting is thought number one. Under the libel laws, it used to be that truth was proof against libel. In other words, if I said John Smith over there is a bank robber, and he actually is a bank robber, and that can be proven or is known publicly, then he cannot sue me. I cannot be legally penalized in any way for calling him what he actually is. And yet under this law, it doesn't matter if you call a person an illegal alien who is an illegal alien or not. It becomes like British law, which is one of the more perverted and obscene things on the planet, whereas they say under British law, the greater the truth, the greater the libel. You can actually be punished more for telling the truth about people. And that means if someone is an illegal alien and you call them an illegal alien, which, by the way, is a federal legal term, so New York City has now made it a crime to use a term formerly used in federal immigration law. But if you call them an illegal alien, even if they are an illegal alien, you have committed a crime and you can be fined $250,000. We'll talk about the implications of that, which are quite profound. And let's see what else. Oh, yes, Harvard University.
So, by the way, they converted Americans who the ninth ring of Hades, right?
I'm sorry, they converted America to what? I didn't hear all of that.
They converted America to the ninth ring of Hades.
For whatever reason, I'm not hearing correctly what you're saying. In any event, though, a couple other quick topics. A judge appointed, of course, by Barack Obama, which means it's an insane judge to begin with. It's an ideological judge, has just ruled Asian students had been suing Harvard University, claiming they were being systematically discriminated against for the very reason that if they admitted the students that got the highest scores on national tests and got the highest grades in school, then 85% of all the students admitted to Harvard would be Asian Americans. I mean, they are that much better than other ethnic racial groups in the country. But a federal judge has ruled against the Asian students who were in court arguing for meritocracy and for fair and equal treatment under the rules of Harvard. The judge just swept that aside and said it's more important that we can bring on other groups that are grossly inferior to you, but because they're different, they have preference over you in the country. By the way, National Public Radio has just done its own study into Mahatma Gandhi, long praised as a hero in Africa and elsewhere in the world. Mahatma Gandhi, who fought for the nonviolent revolutionary liberation of India from Britain. Well, lo and behold, Mahatma Gandhi, according to National Public Radio, has now been found to be, at least as a young man, a racist, based on his early writings. And so he is now being gradually condemned in Africa and the rest of the world. So an interesting thought. Oh, and Elizabeth Warren, don't forget, is still pursuing her wealth tax. If you are wealthy, you are to be massively taxed. If you are a lobbyist, you are to be massively taxed. And if you're a wealthy lobbyist, God help you. I mean, she will hit you with both kinds of tax, directly or indirectly, and basically crush you. Meanwhile, the left is showing its usual colors. Kamala Harris has said that Twitter should cut Donald Trump off and not allow him to be heard. Facebook, which is afraid of Elizabeth Warren, with good reason probably, days before the razor-thin Israeli election that basically tied Netanyahu with his nearest opponent, has basically cut off, days before that vote, Netanyahu's own webpage on Facebook, which was a major factor in his election and now in his diselection, potentially. But that's the power of Facebook and other social media that one analyst says could probably sway 16 million votes in the 2020 election.
Right, exactly.
But here they are, just blatantly cutting off one of the major candidates days before an election in Israel to sway the election there because he's on the left. He's on the right, and therefore he's intolerable. And this is what we're seeing from the media. Oh, last thought, needless to say for you, the New York Times does a whole spate of articles earlier this week on how meat may not be bad for you, how it may be at least as good as fake meat, and this new synthetic meat that's being made is often made by combining vegetable products or vegetarian products with a saturated fat, usually coconut oil in some way or other, and thereby it's not necessarily healthier than ordinary meat. In fact, it might be less healthy. So that would be a good thing to get Dr. Bill's opinion on.
Most definitely. We'll be back in a moment with more. Lowell, you are, as they say, armed for bears. Lots of topics. We want to get into what's going on with China. China's our big, major threat right now, along with Russia. Back in a moment.
Do you have difficulty taking supplements? Are you searching for a high-quality, complete nutritional drink that your whole family will love? NutriMedical's Life Support has arrived. All of your daily nutritional requirements in one quick, delicious drink. Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support is a proprietary blend of vegan protein, activated vitamins, essential minerals, amino acids, probiotics, green tea, digestive enzymes, anti-inflammatories, cancer prevention, detoxification, and much more. Your body will high-five you for this one. Life Support is the best complete nutritious meal replacement on the market. Whether you are an elite athlete, have post-operative challenges, chronic illness, elderly, or a family that just wants a quick, delicious drink, try Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support for optimized nutrition in one great-tasting smoothie. Just add cold water, almond milk, fruit, or anything else you like. NutriMedical's Life Support. Try our great-tasting chocolate or vanilla today. Call 888-212-8871 or visit us online at NutriMedical.com. NutriMedical.com for the whole family.
Red Deer Velvet DR is an amazing new product with a patent to preserve 300 biomolecules and 6 hormones, same as fetal life, where you don't age at all. The state of fetal life allows the 300 biomolecules and 6 hormones produced by the placenta to be supportive of the regeneration of tissues and organs, with maximum apoptosis, changing the tissue and organ structure of a fetus. That's why if fetal surgery is performed, there is no scar. Taking 2 to 3 capsules twice a day with oncomycin, myco-D2, provides an amazing support for regeneration of any tissue and organ in the body, and even advanced stem cell therapy support treatment. Do get NutriMedical's Red Deer Velvet DR from Dr. Bill Deagle at NutriMedical.com, NutriMedical.com, 888-212-8871. Stay well and stay young with NutriMedical. Lumen photon therapy, infrared light, far and near infrared, is extremely important for pain control, stimulation of nitric oxide, improved perfusion, and stem cell activation and reduction of cytokines. Dr. Bill uses it for pain control, for regeneration techniques, for organ regeneration, and for stimulation of your stem cell activity. This amazing lumen photon therapy this year will probably have an additional device with frequency therapy during the on phase of the lights. To obtain a lumen photon machine, contact Dr. Bill at NutriMedical.com, 888-212-8871. He'll prescribe it with you providing nutraceuticals to help with your regeneration, healing, and pain control. Nothing like the lumen photon therapy for easy therapy for your eyes, your pain, your joints, regeneration of organs, detoxification of the body. Get a lumen photon machine from Dr. Bill Deagle, NutriMedical.com, 888-212-8871. Stay well with NutriMedical. The Sonic Life Machine is one of the most amazing therapies that Dr. Bill provides. It is the best sine wave exercise machine on the planet, doing whole body vibration, opening up the muscle to reduce insulin resistance, improve perfusion, release stem cell therapies throughout the body, and epigenetically stimulate the body to release DNA activated. The epigenetic therapy with the sine wave curve of frequencies given for atomic resonance by Linus Pauling for minerals and amino acids stimulates the production of messenger RNA to correct structural protein enzyme deficiency for almost every illness. There's nothing like the sine wave therapy for improving body healing for exercise, but also the epigenetic treatments Dr. Bill can provide can help neutralize frequencies for disease states and illness. Get a Sonic Life machine through Dr. Bill Deagle at NutriMedical.com. Contact us at NutriMedical.com, 888-212-8871, or go to the website NutriMedical and give us a contact. Dr. Bill is available to help you get well with NutriMedical.
Need a powerful ally to fight daily bugs and serious pathogens? Allicin Med is the powerful universal pathogen killer's latest advance of German-sourced allicin, enzymatically stabilized to clear the body of bacteria, fungi, mycobacteria, and parasites. It penetrates body biofilms and is non-toxic to tissues. Pathogen resistance cannot develop for long-term body-optimized wellness. Clear stealth pathogens that promote autoimmune disease, cancer, and vascular inflammation and plaque and promote healing of tissues. Now pathogen-free. With 200 milligrams more power than prior Alamed, you can't get a more powerful ally to fight daily bugs and serious pathogens. Give your body what it needs. Allicin Med. Order Dr. Bill Deagle's Nutridyne at 888-212-8871 or NutriMedical.com. That's 1-888-212-8871 or NutriMedical.com. And listen to the NutriMedical Report on the Genesis Radio Network with open lines every weekday. NutriMedical.com, bringing nutrition and medicine together.
become monstrified. It's the same thing as Elizabeth Warren now that Bernie has had his heart stent. So, by the way, I'll make a quick comment. We use ECCP therapy and my peptides and other nutraceuticals and grow new arteries, and you don't need a stent or bypass. So if you contact me at NutriMedical at Dr. Bill Deagle, I'll give you the protocol. Well, Bernie, if he goes on an HMG choreoreductase inhibitor, it'll make him demented and lack male erections forever. What we have with Warren is she is such a narcissistic hypomanic that we need to have a kind of a movement called "You've Been Warrened." What do you like that? Warrened.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you've been warrened. In other words, she's so nuts and such a control freak that even the stock markets and the other businesses are already pre-freaked out, and you can see the stock market dropping already in anticipation that she might be the candidate to fight Trump. So let's get into all of the other issues. Let's say China first, and then we'll go back and touch on some other ugliness that's going on in our world. But when I see Adam Schiff, I've changed his last two letters of his name to Adam Shitt, and Nadler, I've changed him to the Rattler, just like a rattlesnake. I mean, these people are disgusting examples of what a human being should be, or any politician, let alone a representative of the people. They are the exact opposite of what the Constitution intended and our founding fathers. So let's get into China. This is a horrifying country that wants to be the template for the New World Order for the whole world. And Xi is a narcissistic nut that needs to be in a psych ward and shouldn't be congratulated by Trump, should he?
I dare say he shouldn't, no. In fact, if you're a fan of Chinese astrology, you know something very terrifying about Mr. Xi. But the point is, October 1st, the People's Republic of China began a celebration, a massive celebration of its 70th birthday as the world's biggest and richest communist power. It is also the deadliest power, effectively, in world history, as Mao was coming up, and since then, Communist China has killed at least 65 million people.
I heard the number was closer from my contacts to 100 million.
I'm just talking about the Black Book of Communism, published by Harvard University, which gives you something other than a conservative source to point to. And be able to say even the left agrees it's murdered 100 million people. You mentioned inland Asia, for example. Chairman Mao, when he took over Tibet, killed at least 1.6 million Tibetans, destroyed at least 6,000 Buddhist monasteries. He has 1 million Uyghurs in concentration camps of one kind or another, that is Muslim Chinese from that same region. He of course, I mean, at a point, Nixon took a major gamble. In 1972, he had his opening to China. In fact, someday when we have time, I'll go into, I got to spend a day with a famous Canadian discussing that. As it happened, I just spent the day eating, drinking, and talking with Marshall McLuhan. And Marshall McLuhan had all kinds of amazing observations about China from what Nixon was discovering or displaying by being there. But nevertheless, in that attempt, Nixon had decided he had to take a gamble. We had these two massive communist powers in the world, the Soviet Union and China. It appeared unless a wedge could be driven between them, they would become a unified power that would have enormous force controlling the future of the world. And so Nixon took the gamble that the United States could have an opening to China, could bring China into the world capitalist trading system, and turn China capitalist before we made them so rich that they could buy the weaponry needed to conquer us, or to at least surpass us as a world power. They, of course, now are in some ways surpassing us as a world power. And that gamble looked like it might succeed for a time. They had Deng Xiaoping, for example, who, although he did admittedly kill all those students at Tiananmen Square, nevertheless was an articulate pro-capitalist voice in some ways in China. He's the one who said, "It is a glorious thing to be rich." and that became a slogan of the Chinese. His successor articulated the idea that there could be a socialist market system. In other words, there could be a merger between socialism and capitalism of some kind. There was a great deal of hope, too, because Christianity was for a while spreading in China. In fact, there was a kind of convergence between the two societies so rapid that Niall Ferguson, the famed historian, actually began using the term chimerica to describe.
Yeah, well, there were 80% for several decades when they first joined the WTO. 80% of new Christians were Chinese. Now that stopped, hasn't it?
It has stopped, and China is now promulgating its own religion to be put in place of Christianity or Islam or Buddhism, the new religion being a new version of Confucianism. So suddenly Confucian scholars are glorified and honored, and statues are put up to them, and there's a Confucian program. They have infiltrating American universities and so on, largely to spy on American universities. But the point being, they have found an alternative religion that they can claim is inherently Chinese, is collectivist, is centralist, meets all the requirements of being able to fit into a communist society as they teach it. And as a result, Christianity is being persecuted in China again. And that's the kind of world that we now live in. China, as you say, has been taking over islands in the South China Sea and militarizing them. It has been threatening its neighbors, including communist neighbors like Vietnam, which is shocked to find that China is perfectly willing and eager to grab Vietnamese islands and turn them to its purposes too, that it has no ideological loyalty to communism per se anymore. But it has great loyalty to this strange figure, Xi Jinping, the current leader. Xi Jinping was born in 1953. According to Chinese astrology, that was a year of the black water snake. And in China, parents try very hard to make sure that their children are not born in a year of the snake, so that their children are not snake people. Chinese fortune tellers believe that snake people can be proud, materialistic, vain, vicious, venomous, scheming, cunning, and like snakes, snake people can speak with forked tongues. And that's what we're facing in Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
By the way, I usually do a column, or I used to traditionally do a column, on the Chinese astrology year each year. You know, the year of the dog, the year of the... By the way, Trump is a year of the dog person, as I am. We were both born in 1946. And therefore, there are different characteristics for the people, according to Chinese belief, born in these different years, both good and bad. But the issue is not whether we believe in astrology. The issue is, do they believe in their own astrology system? And frankly, even the communists do, to one degree or another. It's a deeply embedded value system in the culture. So therefore, Xi Jinping is not a good person to be dealing with, and in fact shows every sign of being extremely ambitious, wanting basically to be a new Chinese emperor who is worshipped and adored in the tradition of Chairman Mao. In fact, he has done some very strange things. He has, for example, had himself... You see, China's constitution, in the wake of Mao's idiocy and the damage he did, prohibits leaders from creating a cult of personality around themselves. Presidents are limited to 2 5-year terms, but Xi has had himself proclaimed ruler for life already. He has recently had others use titles for him, such as the People's Leader, that were formerly used and referred to only Chairman Mao. No leader since then. So he is trying to raise him, and largely has already raised himself, to the level of Chairman Mao in Chinese culture. And he apparently has the great ambition to make China the ruling country of the world by the year 2049, on the 100th anniversary. So 30 years from today, or from this week, they plan to control the planet. And he's been using all kinds of tactics to make that possible. They have, for example, built a massive surveillance state based on this concept of social credit, where they engage in massive surveillance of the people. That, as you said, they insist on having facial imagery of everyone who is to be on the Internet or do other functions. That is all fed into an artificial intelligence computing base. And by the way, that base has been largely created for them with the help of Google and the young leftists who run Google. Interesting, because Google has refused to work with our Pentagon to help them develop a surveillance base like that, but they're perfectly willing to work with Communist China, which I think tells us something about what the social media is really like in this country. She has also created the Belt and Road concept, which is used to lure poor third world nations into borrowing huge sums from China for Chinese-built projects such as railroads, airports, and the like. They wind up promising these poor countries, gee, you would have tremendous wealth as a tourism location if only you let us build these new ports, these hotels, and all kinds of other things for you. And they talk people in poor countries into doing exactly that. The only catch is that wealth never comes, because frankly nobody wants to go to Zambia as a tourist location. And therefore, when the project fails, when the country now owes on paper a great deal of money to China, Communist China turns and demands repayment in the form of ports, airfields, and so on.
Right.
By such neocolonial debt, Xi Jinping has already extended China's military reach into Kenya, Zambia, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and other nations.
And South America. I brought this up with Harley Schlanger, and he tried to get kind of vicious about it, because I believe the LaRouche Foundation defends China and communists. And I've actually confronted him on it, and he even didn't think that there were 35,000 Chinese communist special forces in Venezuela, even when I have the actual photographic evidence of it. The problem is there's agencies and groups here in America that defend China, and that's why even in the media you never see MSNBC and, we call it MSLSD.
Well, you shouldn't limit yourself, because there's not only forces like that in Venezuela, there are also all the Cuban troops who act as secret police for Maduro, the communist leader there.
He has 46,000 Cubans, and they get free oil from Venezuela and his private guard, as well as the main troops there.
Collapsing.
Exactly.
But the point being, the troops around the Cubans who are around Maduro, however, are not there just to protect him. They are also there so that if he suddenly changed his mind and decided, I'm going to surrender to the United States and go live in retirement, they would kill him immediately. They basically are there to make sure he remains a pawn in the hands of communist Cuba, which must make him feel tremendously safe to have bodyguards like that.
Yeah, that's the body. They'll guard his live or dead body. How's that? Please continue.
And then Trump, of course, has to try to negotiate with communist China, especially with a Democrat Congress or House of Representatives, trying to undermine him at every turn, trying to persuade the Chinese that if they just wait a little bit, the Democrats will be in power. And then, God help us if it's Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden has already sold his soul to communist China for that $1.5 billion given to his son.
Amazing discussion. We'll continue again next segment. Wow, you got a lot of stuff here. Amazing stuff, Lowell. Thanks.
Are you still looking for that one iodine that you can really trust? A medical doctor-endorsed product that is backed by honest research and true integrative science? Then search no further. Go to NutriMedical.com for Dr. Bill Deagle's Nutriodine, proven time and time again to be the very best iodine available for you. Nutriodine is the only Tesla-activated monatomic plasma iodine in the world. It optimizes mitochondrial function and generation of new mitochondria, from totally neutralizing the venom from a desert recluse spider bite in Southern California to eliminating malaria parasites reported by medical missionaries in Central India. Dr. Bill's Nutriodine is simply the most powerful healing formula there is. Nutriodine clears the body of all known pathogens, restores it to an alkaline state, and even promotes stem cell regeneration. Order Dr. Bill's Nutriodine today at 888-212-8871 or visit us online at NutriMedical.com.
Red Deer Velvet DR is an amazing new product with a patent to preserve 300 biomolecules and 6 hormones, same as fetal life, where you don't age at all. The state of fetal life allows the 300 biomolecules and 6 hormones produced by the placenta to be supportive of the regeneration of tissues and organs, with maximum apoptosis, changing the tissue and organ structure of a fetus. That's why if fetal surgery is performed, there is no scar. Taking 2 to 3 capsules twice a day with oncomycin, myco-D2, provides an amazing support for regeneration of any tissue and organ in the body, and even advanced stem cell therapy support treatment. Do get NutriMedical's Red Deer Velvet DR from Dr. Bill Deagle at NutriMedical.com, NutriMedical.com, 888-212-8871. Stay well and stay young with NutriMedical. Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Deagle, MD, AAEM, ACAM, A4M, of NutriMedical.com, and a consultant providing email advice free on advanced protocols for your optimized wellness and advanced technologies to heal and regenerate you. You can contact us at NutriMedical.com, that's NutriMedical.com, or 888-212-8871. You get free email starter protocols of our top medical-grade nutraceuticals, initial testing, and recommendations for your own primary doctor to do, as well as recommendations to give you an idea of a consultation and a full protocol to try to help you regenerate your tissues, heal naturally without the use of toxic polypharmacy. I can send test kits to you as well anywhere in the world and provide you recommendations to referral of specialty clinics worldwide. So contact me, Dr. Bill Deagle, at NutriMedical.com. That's NutriMedical.com, or 888-212-8871. At NutriMedical.com, we have the most amazing drinks with the best mouthfeel, highest quality bionutrient exposure to your body to heal and regenerate, and the most powerful persistence of nutrients to heal your body dramatically. We have Ageless, which makes you age less, which repairs your DNA, extends your telomeres, etc. We have Life Support that detoxes phase 2 detox pathways, glucuronidation, sulfation, and methylation pathway support. We have Glycemics that blocks the carbohydrate absorption and helps with diabetes or weight loss, and as well helps with people that are trying to build up muscle, using things like our special formulas from Dr. Wolf called Mega Muscles between meals along with Sports Energy Light. We have the amazing Nutri-Complete, the most complete red and greens drink in the world, with the best mouthfeel and flavor. You can often mix it too with Vitamin Mineral Mix, which is our fruit-flavored mixed power of vitamins. Stay well with NutriMedical every day.
I remember when I lost my mind.
Testing.
There was something so pleasant about that place.
And welcome back, and we have more amazing comments by Lowell Ponte. Please continue.
Sure. So let's not forget, this is also the 30th anniversary, the 70th birthday of China, but the 30th anniversary of Tiananmen Square, where the Chinese gerontocracy decided they were going to take on the students who had gathered there by the thousands and thousands, gathered around their own handmade copy of the American Statue of Liberty to demand freedom the same way the students in Hong Kong are trying to do now, carrying American flags and so on. And it is worth remembering, those students in Hong Kong, a lot of them are carrying American flags and are fighting for our values, not communist China's. But in any event, the Chinese gerontocracy had a tough decision to make. They could have just brought in ordinary Chinese military troops to slaughter 3,000 or more students, as they did, but they decided against that it was too much of a risk. What was the risk? Oh, the risk was that if they unleash those troops on the students, and the troops say, wait a minute, we're not going to kill our fellow Chinese, we're going to join the students in demanding freedom and liberation. That would have been all she wrote for the Chinese government. If that had happened, the Chinese military in general might have gone over to the revolution, and that would have been the end of communism in China. So, what the elite Chinese rulers did was they sent a message 45 miles north of Beijing, where there was a special elite corps of military people chosen. And this corps was chosen exactly the way Bill Clinton did it when he was president. You will remember that Bill Clinton, at several West Coast meetings of Marine Corps and other officers on the West Coast, very carefully surveyed and psychologically analyzed them to find out a simple answer to this question. If the United Nations ordered you, Mr. American soldier, to kill fellow Americans because they refused to hand over their guns to the United Nations, would you actually kill them, or would you refuse? And by that method, Clinton was carefully able to select a military unit only of people who would obey the order to kill fellow Americans. Well, that's what the Chinese had 45 miles north of Beijing. Very carefully selected people who were willing to kill fellow Chinese. And so they brought them. By the way, you notice in Iran, when the mullahs in Iran have suppressed the people, they have generally not even done it with Iranian citizens. They have used elite troops made up of Palestinians and other foreign entities who would obey the government absolutely. It's the same logic as the Muslim troops of the Ottoman Turks using Janissaries, that is, an elite, obedient military corps made up of Christian children stolen from the Christian lands they ruled.
Wow.
Because those people had no religious or clan or ethnic identification with the Ottomans in general. They were loyal only to the Sultan.
Right.
No one and nothing else.
Right.
And as a result, China brought in these elite troops to slaughter more than 3,000 Chinese. Is that what they would do in Hong Kong? Well, we shall find out when the television cameras go what is done to the people who have been fighting against the communists in Hong Kong, who are violating, by the way, the very rules they agreed to. They agreed they would not impose total Chinese rule until 2047, something like that, according to the treaty they had with Great Britain. But no, they were beginning to impose it now.
Right, they don't want to phase it in, do they? If a Chinese person tried, they would remove him to communist China itself and try him there, rather than try him in Hong Kong, where he might be found innocent. And so this is a very interesting struggle we're engaged in. By the way, I failed to mention some of the things that China is doing that not too many people think about. Not only are they seizing islands in the South China Sea and taking over that critical world waterway, they have also developed laser cannon capable of destroying GPS satellites that are used to guide our cruise missiles. They are developing hypersonic missiles, including these 10 MIRV warhead systems that we saw on display on October 1st in Beijing, that are capable easily of sinking U.S. warships and doing other damage. They have been perfecting lately, and nobody seems to want to talk about this, special craft and war techniques that would be used to land on critical beaches long thought to be safe on Taiwan. If they were going to take over Formosa, they now have been continuing to develop the technology just one day, probably the day a Democrat takes power in the White House, to take over free China, the one part of China they don't rule now, knowing that an Elizabeth Warren would just bend like a paper straw in the face of Chinese force. It would be rather interesting, but though that's part of the price we face
in these incredible weakling Democrats who are now being offered to the American people. And, of course, the worst of all would be Joe Biden, who is already owned lock, stock, and barrel. He is a wholly owned subsidiary of Communist China.
Yeah, he's part of the corruptocracy and the liocracy. And the that's why they call it. It's funny when we see what happened with his son Hunter Biden. This is not an anomaly. This is what all the politicians are doing in the District of Criminals, D.C. It's not an anomaly. Can you expand on that? Because the fact that China is rebuilt primarily at American expense and the loss of 60,000 factories. And the fact is that corruption in D.C. created China, didn't it?
Oh, it absolutely did. Now, of course, the ugliest situation in the world from my point of view, Hillary Clinton sold 1/5 of America's uranium resources to Russia. Russia, at the same time, has been building nuclear reactors in Iran and has been supplying nuclear materials to Iran, which then Iran puts in its centrifuges and spins up to higher and higher grade weapons material. And as a result, when a terrorist from Iran delivers another weapon to downtown New York City and levels New York City, the chances are actually pretty good that it will be American uranium sold by Hillary Clinton to them indirectly that is the makings of that nuclear weapon. It would be ironic. It would be probably what is deserved by a liberal city that continues to applaud and cheer what the left does in the world. But, I mean, the mere fact that Americans could even think of voting for a Democrat leaves me just so utterly appalled I can barely imagine it. I mean, you're literally supporting the enemies of this country and this culture.
I'm amazed that any American still thinks that Trump is a vassal of Russia, that any of these Democrats are worth voting for, that they have anything at all to contribute to the future of a constitutional republic. It's obscene. It makes me choke. It makes me politically nauseous. What do you think?
Well, and they virtually admit to the fact that their goal is to undermine the United States. I mean, what is the chant that young leftists supporting the Democratic Party use nowadays? No Trump, no wall, no USA at all. They literally seek the destruction of this country. They literally seek denouncing and demolishing this country from its founding to the present. They don't like capitalism. They don't like our history. They don't like individual freedom. They think there should be a tiny ruling elite, and of course they imagine themselves to be part of that tiny ruling elite. They are arrogant beyond imagining, and of course they don't realize that as soon as they tear the United States down to a third world nation, which they're trying to do, then the first world nation leaders like China will simply turn on them and squash them like bugs. That they will not be the rulers of the new world. That they will simply have armed and created the rulers of the new world. So no, it's a grim picture. Now what could we do other than that? There are lots of steps we could take to undermine China. One of the riskiest but most effective, for example, would be to guarantee that Japan has nuclear weapons. China does not like the idea of Japan being nuclear armed, even though Japan has probably been nuclear armed for 30, 40 years. We don't like to admit it, but I remember when when Japan was working on its weather rocket program. This was when I was doing think tank work. And my boss pointed out to me, here is one of the Japanese weather rockets that they use to see how the wind is blowing above Japan and so on. It was a rocket 72 feet tall, and it had specifications essentially identical to our Minuteman III missile. But that was just a weather rocket that Japan was building.
From my sources, I have that the second best rockets for launching nuclear weapons in the world are the Japanese. It would not take them a microsecond, especially if we got, I think, to be honest, we just gave them the THAAD system. We should have a full range of hypersonic intermediate cruise missiles and advanced weapons, including space-based weapons, they can turn directly on the Chinese. And they're in the back doorstep. I mean, the rocket they sent yesterday, this is right after the announcement that Kim is going to meet with POTUS, Trump. And the next day they fire a rocket that could have hit Japan. So they need to be taught a lesson. Kim, you're full of it. And he's acting as a proxy of Russia and their plan to advance and proliferate nuclear weapons.
Now, part of the problem Koreans have is that in Japanese culture, which is itself quite racist, the word Japanese use for Korean is the same word they use for monkey.
Right.
But why be picky? In any event, if you like this kind of information, you can get it absolutely free and post-pay. You don't have to pay Jeff Bezos $20 for the 7th book Craig Smith and I have done together, Money, Morality, and the Machine. You see Craig once a week on with Neil Cavuto on Fox Business. You can get this book. We'll give it to you at no cost whatever. We'll pay the postage. We're just trying to save the world for our children and grandchildren. And we suggest you try to do the same. Because otherwise, you're caught in this trap, as I say in my column at WorldNet Daily that last Monday, of being the kind of wise parent who teaches your children Spanish and your grandchildren Chinese, because that's the way rulership in the world is now going. To get the free book, just call a toll-free number. Won't cost you a penny, 800-630-1492, like the year Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That's 800-630-1492. And that's my little housewarming gift. So I thank you, Dr. Bill, for letting me share that with you.
So a closing comment, what would you say if you had a chance to talk to POTUS? What would you say to him about congratulating Mr. Xi?
Well, I understand why he does it. I mean, it is a diplomatic sort of gesture. But it's hard to... I mean, Trump is positive. Trump believes that
he thinks he can negotiate a building a building.
Or another.
If I was to advise him, here's what the three things I'd tell him to do. Number one, hit the carfentanil plant from space-based weapons, shut down the bank accounts of all the PLA, and start basically going down and specifically blockading the oil from not only Iran but also Venezuela, which will cause the collapse of the Venezuelan regime and Cuba. He should also freeze the bank accounts of the PLA communists and the communists in Russia. And I think Trump needs to stop negotiating and taking action like a wild animal in a cage. You take an action and you have an anticipated response, and then you have a response to that. Because you're dealing with a wild, demonically energized, pseudo-human avatar by transdimensional evil that you cannot fully understand. And
Xi Jinping has already challenged the world to choose between the United States and China.
Oh, yeah.
And if Trump looks too vulnerable, or if he's brought down further by the Democrats, they may just choose Xi Jinping.
Exactly. You want to choose the devil?
The Democrats are our enemies, too.
Well, Xi, the year of the snake, the black snake, we might as well call him the minion of Satan. How's that?
Which was